Hi, I'm Josh with Tactical Tech, and this is a quick tutorial on how to use ipTrack, the inpatient tracker. Now, I'm really hoping that this database is user-friendly enough to the point where nobody needs this video, but I'm making this tutorial just in case. Now, there's two different files that are associated with this database, and generally this database file resides on a file share that everybody can get to. In this copy, this file goes on your desktop, is meant for you to interface with the backend database. So we'll go ahead and open it, and it's going to prompt you for where that backend database is. So all you're going to have to do is navigate over to wherever it is on your file share, more than likely, click it and open it, and it relinks all the tables. It'll pop up with this handy getting started guide, which I still have to update. I'll close that, get it out of the way, and you'll arrive at the main view, and you'll see all the patients throughout each one of these wards. Now, if I want to change around some of these wards, I created in the last video I made a new ward right here, so I want to show the 555th ICU in this window. I can just click right there, or I can click him over here since he only has 9 beds. That fits in that window perfectly. I can change this. I did change it in the last video, the ICU name here, so I'll change that over to HHC ICU, and that pops it right there, and this will stay the same. Even if you close it and reopen it, it will maintain those settings. And you'll notice for each ward it gives us total number of patients, and right up here it's the total number of patients for the field hospital to include the incoming patients over here. Now, missed is all your incoming patients that are not currently in the hospital or need to be sorted into the hospital. Other are all the patients that didn't get a bed in one of the named wards, and might be hanging out in a hallway somewhere, or interchange, or something like that. Now, usually patient administration is getting notified of incoming patients, and they'll go to this add new patient when they are informed of those patients. And all you need to fill out, trauma number will auto-populate. It'll auto-populate the missed bed name, associate them with a sort of temporary bed name. You will change the ESI category to match what it should be, and same with triage. And right here is just the estimated time of arrival. We could put this, let's say, 12:19 later on today. Or actually, I suppose that would be 23. And over here under missed is just a... And over here in missed is just a short description of what problems they are having, what's the nature of their injury. And I'm just going to put in something real quick. Say he has a concussion. And down here is where you're going to put in some other information, but you really don't have to. This is critical information. That's pretty much all you need on that incoming patient. And if you're in a rush, you don't have all this other information, that's fine. You can move on. You can either save and close or save and add another patient. But for right now, I'm just going to put in a last name and a first name. And we'll save and add another patient. And same thing with here. This one, it automatically gave them a trauma number, ETA, all that stuff. You just update it to whatever it is. Throw in the missed. And let's say you got more information from that previous patient. You can just hit this previous record button and say that you've got the branch and rank. And he's a Sergeant First Class, let's just say. And you also got the age. You can either put in the birth date if you know the birth date, but if you don't get relayed that birth date, you can put in just sort of an estimated age here. Now, the entire database, if the birth date is filled out, it will prefer to calculate the age off of the birth date. And in lieu of, if the birth date is null, it doesn't exist, it's not in the database, it'll use this alternate age right here. Down here you can use the nationality. We'll go ahead and define the gender. We'll go ahead and define the unit. Now there's a drop down list of units that are currently already in the database, but if this guy is not in the database, if this unit is not in the database, no worries. Let's say he's part of 3rd of the 56th Infantry battalion. You can just drop that in there, and for all the other patients that come in, 3rd of the 56th Infantry Battalion will be in this drop-down list for them, so it just keeps the same standard formatting. Down here, you're going to update the nutrition type just to whatever the diet is. And like I said, everything in here under other information doesn't need to be there as the patient is coming in. You could proceed without it. Here, if you want, you could put in some notes. And after you're doing that, you press enter or get out there, and it'll automatically initial it and annotate it as you being the person who put that in there. You can even throw in a picture of the guy. So go to add, choose the picture that we have on file, add it in, okay, and it adds in that picture. And we can navigate back to this guy. We got a little bit more information on him. And if that's all we got, that's fine. We can fill in the rest later on. We'll just go ahead and save and close and go on and move on. And while we're talking about incoming patients, let's take a look at the mass casualty view. And this is just a view of all the casualties as arranged by immediate, delayed, minimal, and expectant. Basically, they're triage categories. We can actually have this on a tablet, and as we're going out as patient administration and trying to collect some more information on these guys, just open this up and it allows us to enter in all that information directly on the tablet. Now, if you don't have a tablet, that's not an option or anything. You can go to arriving patients, and it creates this report that you can print out, throw on a clipboard, and just pencil in that information. And then when you get back into the office, you can go through each one of these and update the information that you collected off of that paper report. Now, there are 2 ways to assign these guys to actual beds within wards. You can either do it through the patient details window, and let's say that we're going to put this guy in EMT02. That's an open bed. We changed him over to EMT02, and what's going to happen is he gets his triage status erased at that point, and he'll no longer show up in this window once it refreshes. But what will happen is he does show up in the ward view. We're going to change this ward view over to EMT, and you notice that he's showing up here under the EMT02 bed. And EMT, or whoever's in this ward view, can actually assign or bring patients into these beds. Now, EMT may want to know who's actually the incoming patients, because this combo has everybody who's currently checked into the hospital. We just want to see who's in the miss category here. So let's go ahead and bring in Gunny Metzger here, because he's an immediate, and we're going to put him in EMT04. So we brought him in. We can bring in another guy. We got this no-name guy who's an immediate, and put him in EMT05. Now while we're here, we notice that. Now while we're here, let's go ahead and take a look at services. Let's say we need an x-ray on this guy's broken leg. So all we're going to do is open up this lady's patient details, go over to the services tab, select the service. In this case, the service we're requesting is with radiology, and we just need an x-ray of leg. You probably want to give more details, but we'll just go for it for the sake. Exit out of that, and service, let's go over to service view. This is what your services are going to be monitoring. And what's going to happen is when this refreshes, it's going to chime and alert them with an audio signal saying, hey, you got a new request in here. Can you go ahead and take care of it? They'll see it as a new request. They'll go ahead and execute whatever they need to do with that request and change the status to in progress in this case. Take a look back over in ward view. We'll just do a quick refresh, and you notice that the service is marked as in progress for Mike 007, trauma ID Mike 007. Now when radiology gets done, when they get completed, they're just going to change the status of this to completed, and that'll show up for the ward, and they'll see it as completed. They can go ahead and open up this patient's file, take a look at the service. Maybe they attach, well, it wouldn't be a good idea to attach an x-ray to this because it would exceed the size limit of the database. But, if there's any attachments, any notes here, any remarks, they can take a look at that and then go over here to acknowledge that it was completed. Acknowledge that they actually saw it. Press OK, and that completed task will disappear off of this view. It'll still be available under the services tab of that patient, but it won't be in this view because you've already done what you needed with it. Now let's talk about evacuation. So if you're planning an evac a couple patients, you can go ahead and go over to evac manifest, create a new evac manifest, choose the transportation type, put in the tail information, put in the mission number if there is one, and we're going to change the estimated time of departure. Let's say it's tomorrow. We're going to change it to 9 a.m. or 0900. Now, it automatically calculates an hour before then and gives you an initial manifest time, but let's say that the initial manifest time is actually going to be 7 in the morning, and the final manifest time is going to be 8:45, 15 minutes prior to 9. We'll go ahead and keep with that. And then we start adding in the patients who are going to be on this chalk. So it's filtered currently by 3899 status. We can just click that little button to filter those in the drop down that are complete and ready to go. Or if we want to ignore that, we can just unclick it and choose the users from there, or patients from there. We'll go ahead and click these two guys. They're ready to go. Get them on the manifest. We can go ahead and print that manifest, and it gives us something that we can print out, have a paper checklist, make sure everybody's at the final manifest call and are getting on the bird. And if they aren't there, it gives us a good idea of which bed to look in, and also gives us the nature of their injury. If there's any special accommodations we need to make as they're getting on the bird, we kind of know about it at the point. So let's just say that these guys got on the bird, they're out of here, they're on their way to their next stop, probably a larger medical center somewhere. We can go ahead and mark that mission as complete. It'll mark all of these passengers, all two of them, as discharged, and we can take a look at that, how that looks, and you notice that it says he was exfilled, this was his discharge date, that matches up with the departure time, and we probably actually change that to an appropriate time, and we see that reflected right here. It gets changed on there. Looks like it didn't get changed in the discharge notes, but he gets marked as discharged, and that mission is complete. Now if we want to see those discharged patients, any patient that enters into this database never leaves this database. But we can see those discharged patients under all patients and just change this from inpatient to discharged, and there's Gunny right there. We can even search for people if there's a long list. Now let's talk about meals. Each one of these, like we said, had a meal, that a special diet plan perhaps. This for nutrition care division. They can print out a meal distribution plan, and it gives them a total number of meals for each section in a cross-tab query, as well as the number of meals to actually prepare. So they can take a look at this and know, okay, I need to prepare 11 regular meals, 1 soft meal, 2 vegetarian meals, and that gives me a total of 14 meals, and this is how they're going to be distributed, a 7 for EMT, etc. Now you'll notice that 2 of these blocks are highlighted in red. That's because a couple of those patients in those blocks, well, they have food allergies. So you'll have to scroll down to, in this case, EMT, and see what those food allergies are, and make sure that their plate are marked properly and don't have any kind of gluten or fish in these cases associated with them. And then when you're trying to sort it all out there in the NCD, you can put 6 regular in the EMT box, throw another vegetarian EMT, and send that one box off with all 7 of those meals off to EMT. And once you get to EMT, you can pass them out and check them off as they're being passed out. Make sure that you aren't missing anybody there, and know what bed and who that meal is actually going to, and the type of meal they're getting, food allergies, all that. Now we'll talk about logs. They're just about every action. I still got to code a little bit more in here, but just about every action gets logged in here, all the way from when the patient was first added to the database, every bed that they move in and out of gets logged in here, and then when any service is completed, any service is requested, gets logged here. And we can filter that by individual users just by looking at the history under the user here. In addition, those notes that we talked about earlier, can put in another note here. This guy's the POW that ended up in the hospital. You can put in notes, and that automatically determines who the author of that note was and gives the initials. And over here under history, it also, whatever change was made gets logged with the name of the person making that change with the date when it was changed. Pay no attention to these blank ones down here. That was when the database was still being built. So that sums up most of the options with this database from a user perspective. Thank you for watching. Hope you have fun. Have a nice day.